I want to welcome today our two guests, Wayne Bridges and Brooklynne Morse. Wayne is the Director of Training at Toyota of Puyallup. Did I say that wrong?
Puyallup. Yeah.
I would have never gotten that.
Yeah. It's an
and
Indian
Brooklynne,
name. So.
yeah, and Brooklynne Morse is the Assistant Service Manager at Scott Honda of Westchester. Welcome to the Fixed Ops Mastermind.
Nice to be here.
Absolutely.
Very nice to be here.
And so today we're talking about technician mentoring. The show will be broken up always into three segments. First segment is the benefits of technician mentoring. Second is recruiting and developing new technicians. And the third is the challenges and best practices in technician mentoring. And so first question is, how does mentoring programs contribute to the retention of experienced technicians and the development of new talent?
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and jump in, first on that. One thing that I've experienced is, especially having that experienced technician as a mentor, it gives them kind of a level of excitement and pride in what they're doing, and the fact that they get that ability to share their knowledge and stuff with that young upcoming technician, and that feeling that they are appreciated in the shop, that they're recognized for that skill and their abilities, and I think that really helps a lot. And one thing that that I found, as having been an instructor at a technical college for 29 years, I was really frustrated with how many of my really good graduates from my program would go to work in a shop and have absolutely no support. And within a year or two, they've left the industry. They didn't just leave that shop; they left the industry, and it was because they didn't have that support. So it is really critical that these young people coming in, especially when they're coming out of a trade school, so often the employer hires them thinking they're MDT coming right out of school, and they don't know much yet. They can recite some stuff out of the book. They can use some hand tools, but they don't know anything about a car yet. That's what I would always stress to my students. When you graduate with that big degree, you don't know anything about cars yet. So it's going to take some time, and having that mentor is so critical.
Absolutely. Brooklynne, before you answer on that, if you could just give us a little bit of a background of who you are, what you're doing now, but where you've come from, because there's a reason that you're here on the Technician Mentoring show.
Yeah, so I was originally from Corning, New York, and I actually went to culinary for 2.5 years, and that was kind of like a trade school program. So I was half in school, half out of school in high school, and I did good at it, at competitions. It was a lot of fun, loved it. Then I ended up going to college. I did 1 semester, and I was like, this might not actually be for me. All of my friends growing up were into cars, and I'm from like engineering background with my parents to that extent, but I knew how to put my spare on. That was about the extent. I knew where washer fluid went. Then in college, they had the Honda Pack program, and I ended up meeting a bunch of the guys from that program, the Ford Asset program, and just general automotive. And they were like, no, Honda's for you. It starts you in the very beginning. You learn what a wrench is, you learn all the tools, and then you learn where the drain plug is, and just kind of escalates slowly. I ended up getting into that, full support of my parents, and just took it by the reins and absolutely fell in love with the program. And then here I am. So I've been on both sides. I've been the mentor side. I've been the mentee. I've been a little bit of everything at this point. Now an assistant service manager. So it just built over time.
Yeah, and you made it to master level, right? Right. You didn't just.
Yeah. So I surpassed master and actually went to super tech. So that's Honda-wise the highest qualification that you can be. There's 35 super techs in the U.S., and I am one of those 35. And they never filled all the seats either. So I'm very proud to be where I am.
Yeah, that's a big distinction, and we're proud to have you here with us. And I'll remind you what the question was: is how do
Thank you.
mentoring programs contribute to the retention of experienced technicians as well as the development of new talent?
I think kind of going into what you were saying as well, there is a huge sense of pride to have somebody that doesn't know much about cars, and it kind of reminds you where you were too, however many years ago. For myself, it would have been 10 years ago, and the fact that you get to be there and really build that person, watch them grow, it kind of like that family aspect, which no matter what techs say and how miserable they are, they do develop the family in the shop. And it builds a lot of core values. I think it changes perspectives, and even with that, the older technicians can learn from the younger ones. So the younger generation being a little bit more adapt to phones and whatnot. A lot of stuff changes over the years, and I think that's an asset on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot of pride that goes into that, and watching them learn how to take an engine apart and just really develop and hone their skills from where does this bolt go? I don't need this bracket to, oh, I have nothing left in my jar. So there's a lot of pride that goes into that.
Excellent. I am a graduate of the Ford Asset Program way back in the 80s. And I was not a good tech. I gave it a shot, but after about 4 years, Ford asked me to not work on their cars anymore. So I moved to the services advisor side of the business. I did much better there. So Wayne and Brooklynne, what specific skills and knowledge can be effectively transferred through mentoring, the mentoring relationship inside the dealership?
Everything, in my opinion. So I'll switch. I'll go first. There is that immediate tension that's there too. So being almost handed off to somebody like, this is your person. This is the person you can go to. That immediately breaks up most of the walls of comfort. There is kind of always that, like, I want to prove myself mentality that comes, I think, for like the first couple weeks, if I remember correctly from that long ago. But I really think it starts by breaking walls down. And from there, you feel so much more comfortable to kind of actually show everything that you know as the mentee to the mentor. And then that trust starts to develop, and it helps build in that aspect. So then the trust is there, and then they can actually learn everything. So if it is that they're having problems finding where that oil filter is on some of those cars where it's really hidden, it can be literally every single part of it to where to park a car.
Wayne?
Yeah, so I thought about this a lot, and one of the key things that I think that really good mentor can add to that young person is being a good role model. Exhibiting the good work ethic and that good attitude. The excitement about the industry. That is so important. To help build that passion so that you can go through this industry for a long time. I'm just entering my 50th year in the automotive business, and I've loved every day of it. And I want everyone that comes in this industry to have that same passion and love for it. And then what Brooklynne was going towards as well is a lot of these kids have some mechanical aptitude, so when they come in, as a technician, but it's those diagnostic strategies and those kind of things that take a little more time to learn. And that's where that mentor really comes into play, is helping them learn those really good, solid diagnostic strategies, learning to actually use the repair information and not just dive in and start ripping and tearing. It's so important to use that repair information. And, once again, I've been doing this business for a long time. And anytime I tackle a job that I've never done before, first thing I do is I get in the repair information, find out how that system works and where the pieces are at and things like that. And that's where that mentor can really help with that.
Yeah, I think an example of that for me was as I started in the dealership, Ford's we're going back to paper manuals, right? But you would go to do, say a heater core repair, and it would show it being like a 5-step repair. But step 1 was remove dash, right? And then you had to go find in the manual where it tell you how to remove the dash, right? But as a new tech, you just looked and were like, oh, this repair isn't going to take that long. Until you get to step 1 of remove dash and realize that you've got 7 hours of figuring out how to get a dash out of a Ford Taurus. And without that mentor relationship, I even though I didn't become a good tech, I was really lucky. They put me beside a very experienced tech who was really, really good at being that mentor for me. He would let me struggle a bit, and then he would come over and go, hey, maybe you should try this, right? But he was the guy that would help me with the things in like the manual to show you, this is where you should go and look this up. It'll make your life easier.
Yep, exactly.
How do you think mentor programs overall, how do mentoring programs impact overall the efficiency and productivity of the shop?
Well, I'm going to jump in again because, I ran an apprenticeship program for 4 years before I came to Toyota Puyallup. And so I had mentors all over the state of Washington, working with technicians. And what I found was initially productivity would dip a little bit for a couple of months. Productivity would dip. But once everyone started getting in the groove and that apprentice really started, learning how to leverage that mentor and things, both technicians' productivity went up. And the thing that was the most interesting to me was the misdiagnosis and comeback rate went way down. And that was a really interesting thing. Yeah, productivity went up, but the biggest plus that I thought was that misdiagnosis and comeback rate went down. And I think that's tied to the fact that mentor now is responsible for that mentor or that mentee, that mentee's success. And so they're much more careful about their diagnostics. They're much more careful about the procedures they're doing. And so I just thought that was really a really interesting turn of events there.
Yeah. Wayne, did you find, or you're still running these types of programs, do you find that the mentor maybe sticks to the procedure a little bit more, making the outcome a little better, as opposed to the kind of winging it type of stuff that may have gone on if he wasn't showing somebody how to do the job?
That's exactly what I've observed. Yeah. Now, it's really critical for that mentor to show those shortcuts that we're going to learn from experience and things. But yeah, definitely that shotgun approach goes down, and then we have happier customers. So.
Right.
Yeah. I definitely agree with all of that. Every aspect of it. It definitely, productivity will go down. Efficiency hopefully stays close to the same, but overall productivity will go down just because you're training somebody. You're going to slow down, take the time, just like with Diag, like you were saying. And it does kind of change that aspect too. And then you're going to watch everything skyrocket after. So it starting with, you have to check the fuse first. Well, depending on your symptom, what codes you have, the mentor is sitting back. I kind of already know where I need to go, but I'm going to have him follow the troubleshooting or have her follow the troubleshooting. And it could lead down a different path. How many times do you see an O2 sensor code and you're like, it definitely needs an O2 sensor. And then you might not. You might need a PCM. So it definitely will slow you down. And I can see both sides of that, where it'll help overall comebacks, just because you do have to slow down and kind of show them the right route, and then you might be surprised yourself.
Yeah. Excellent. Some great points. This segment is brought to you by Automotive Warranty Network Incorporated, family-owned and operated claims management service based out of Denver, Colorado. They currently process more than 100 million in warranty per month. And as we move into segment 2, recruiting and developing new technicians. And my first question is, Brooklynne, what strategies are dealerships using to attract new talent? Or how about what effective strategies?
Yeah, that one. What we do might be different. And I'm very new to this role. So kind of going out and also seeing what I saw at other dealers, kind of what we did prior. We have ads out there as normal places do, just we're recruiting technicians, whether that be on radio, what have you. They're just standard ads out there, paper ads. But what we have started doing as well is we started reaching out to technology schools around us. And I've started traveling to the technology schools, sitting down with them and just being like, this is my path. Like, your path does not stop, start, end wherever here. Yeah, I mean, you can go wherever you want to go. And I think that's a huge impact rather than being like, oh, you're just going to be a technician and then it stops here. There, you can actually see where you can go. Somebody that we just have for a short period of time while they're developing and honing their skills and decide to go into a different field, aviation, something that we don't have. They feel empowered to build at our dealer, which I think is huge. And I've been very close with the college I graduated from as well. So I've just reached out enough and have some stuff in my back pocket to help me out.
Excellent. Wayne?
Yeah, so being involved with the local trade schools is really critical.
Yeah.
I'm currently on 6 different advisory committees here in the Puget Sound area. So I'm in their classrooms. I attend their advisory meetings and things like that. I actually come in and give little short courses to the classes sometimes and stuff. And just having that presence out there is huge. And we have a number of our younger techs that have come from those schools that I'm involved with because they know who we are, and because we're very involved with those schools. The schools recommend their cream of the crop students to us as well.
Right.
And that makes a big difference. I know that when the instructor at Pierce County Skill Center tells me, recommends that I, interview this kid from his program, I know that kid is probably going to be a pretty good fit because he's not going to send me someone that's not gonna have what it takes, and that's huge. And we have to be careful not to just stop there. I go to middle schools, I go to elementary schools and talk to these kids. And anytime you can go to like a career fair where the parents are part of it, that's huge. If you can talk to the parents and help them understand that the automotive industry isn't what it was 40, 50 years ago.
Right.
It's an incredibly technical industry that we're in. And oh, by the way, you can make pretty good money nowadays. It didn't used to be that way. When I took my first dealership job at the Chevrolet dealership in 1977, I was making $3.50 an hour. Those days are gone. And it's pretty exciting. And so being able to share that information with the parents and the kids is huge. I think, for us here at Toyota Puyallup, we do all the advertising stuff like that as well. But we really leverage my position here that when they come to work at Toyota Puyallup, they're going to actually have classroom lecture on automotive systems and stuff. And, it's like a mini vocational school right here at Toyota Puyallup. I'm prepping a class for the main shop techs. I'm doing a class for the A6 electrical test. So that our students or our technicians have a really good shot of passing that the first try kind of thing. So that's huge. And so we really try to leverage that as well. And hopefully more shops around the country start, embracing that.
Yeah. Amazing. And Wayne, let's not skip over that. Like your title is Director of Technician Training, right?
Right.
That in and of itself should be a recruiting
It
a
is.
recruiting tool that dealerships around the country are using, right?
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
something that every dealership should have. And for you guys, a technician looking at Toyota dealership A, Toyota dealership B, and Toyota dealership A has you, and they know they're going to get classroom training, they're going to get mentoring, all of that stuff. It makes it a much more appealing place to go to work.
Exactly. And because of that, our technicians tend to stay. We have technicians downstairs that have been here 38 years, 36 years, 25 years, 15 years,
That's
and
impressive.
we have those newbies that are coming in as well. And we try to prep those newbies to replace those old guys as they're transitioning out.
Yep.
So it's like it's a no-brainer, but it's hard, especially for the bean counters, to justify a position like mine, where I'm just a red mark on the ledger.
Yeah.
But fortunately, the owners and the general managers feel like that's a worthwhile expense, and I think it's starting to pencil out. So
yeah. Well, and if they want to look at the ledger that way, everybody in that dealership except the technician is an expense. The technicians are the only one who are actually creating revenue. Everybody else, all the way up to the owner of that dealership, is an expense.
Right.
So, how do you integrate the mentoring programs into the onboarding process for new technicians? Well, what's an effective way to make that happen?
I'm kind of curious to hear your perspective on it, because we're very recently trying to really hone in on mentorships, and we've restructured almost like a career path. So we've built a couple that people can actually see, so they can see that it splits as well. Because I didn't hit an advisor stage, I just went from super tech to assistant service manager, which I'm very grateful for, with its own learning curves. But with both the manager and I having a very strong tech background, we are really trying to hone in on mentoring, and I would love to hear your perspective on how you kind of encourage and do all that.
Yeah. So what we do here at Toyota Puyallup is, the first day, they spend about an hour and a half with me in a classroom setting. And, I walk them through a PowerPoint presentation of what their job is going to look like in the shop. I take them through a training video that Toyota has. I take them through, all the different aspects of what they're going to be doing downstairs, from, torquing that drain plug and things like that. I walk them through the whole process. And then we talk about, those soft skills as well, that we need them to be a dependable employee, because if they call out, they wake up one morning and they just don't feel like coming to work. Getting them to understand that first day that they're here, that how that affects everyone in the shop. It doesn't just affect their paycheck. It affects everyone in the shop, because we've scheduled work for a full crew, and you don't come, we still have all that work to get done. So everyone else has to work harder. So it's getting that in their heads right from the first hour and a half that they're here. And then we get them down into the shop, and they are assigned with a mentor. And basically the first day is, depending on, what kind of background they have, it may just be observation only. They're going to spend, the 6 or 7 hours down in the shop just observing the technicians doing what they're doing. And then the next day, then we'll transition them into, doing the different steps. What I'm talking about right now is our TXM line, the lube rack, because that's where most of our new people start, is right there.
Yeah.
But I try to get them to understand how important that piece of the dealership is, that it is the most important part of the dealership, because if we don't do that first oil change right, we're potentially going to lose that customer. And oh, by the way, they're the part of the dealership that's most responsible for keeping the main shop busy. So getting them to understand that piece of it and getting some pride in that is one of the things that I really strive to do, to make them know that that's not a loser position there. That is a really critical piece of the dealership here, and we don't want you to stay there. We want you to move up through the ranks, and become that service manager someday. We would love for that to happen with every one of our techs. So that's really critical, and it's in getting them to that right person as a mentor, because your top tech may not be the best person to be a mentor.
Right.
Yes.
Might be a really high producer, but really cranky and a short fuse and stuff. You don't want to put an apprentice with that kind of person. Yeah, they can get some good information from that guy from time to time, but it could be really toxic. So it's getting them to that right person is really critical, and it's important to train your mentors as well in how to be that good mentor. So those are all really, really critical things.
Yeah, it's a great point about your top producer not necessarily being a great mentor, right? We've got to get out of that headset from your position, Brooklynne. A lot of times in the dealership, the top advisor becomes the next service manager when that service manager leaves. Mark Pittman has a book called The Surprising Gift of Doubt. And one of the things that he talks about in there is, as you move up, you're moving up from, as an advisor, as a single person, right? I'm in charge of me. And then you get put into a manager's position, and now you're in charge of a team. And most times they don't tell you how to do that, right? And some people are naturally good at it, but most people need some training in that. And that's what you were just alluding to there, Wayne, is that top technician may not be the best person to be a mentor, or maybe they just need some training to understand that, hey, if I'm going to give you a mentee, like, these are the things that you need to be different about.
And that is huge. Just speaking on the toxicity itself, if you do put a technician with the wrong person, I have plenty of high hour turners that have been here for plenty of their years, and they wouldn't be a great asset for a mentee just because of their personality traits. And they're just a high drive. They want to come into work, they want a powerhouse, and then they want to go home, and that's fine. If that's your niche, that's your niche. But you definitely have to put people with the right mentor, or else that can just ruin everything, literally everything. So
totally agree. And we've been really good over the years of putting the wrong people in the seats on the bus, right? Like, you take that high producer that you just talked about, Brooklynne, and leave them alone. If they don't want to be a mentor, then they don't have to be a mentor. That's not their path, right? They want to come in, they want to do their job well, they take pride in that, and they want to go home. Let them do that for you. So we kind of touched on this earlier, but what role do the partnerships that you have with vocational schools and community colleges play in recruiting and developing new technicians?
So we kind of, as discussed before, we get that same perk of, we go out there, we sit down, we talk to students, whoever the students are, and whether they're high school students coming into college, and I kind of help recruit for my old college, or middle schools, elementary schools. I've sat in on a couple of those as well at previous dealers when I was just a technician. And we get the perks, at least from trade schools, of, hey, this person really slows down. They really want to learn. They have that drive. They have that energy. They don't know a lot, but they have every other marker that you need to become a good technician. Like myself, I only knew how to do a spare tire, but this is where I am because of the drive, the energy, the positivity. And we get those little, hey, you might want to reach out to this person. This person's worth it, which is a huge asset. And talking to parents, as you were also saying, and they're a huge asset to that as well, just because then if they have that good conversation with you, hey, you might want to go check this place out. So it can help bring work in, it can help bring students in, it can help bring just absolute so many levels of that.
Yeah, it is absolutely essential to be plugged into any of those, especially automotive programs, but not just automotive programs, at the high school, any kind of technology class or something like that. Because a lot of schools don't have an automotive program anymore. They don't have welding shop and things. So go into that robotics class and things and talk about the industry. That is all really important. And then giving back to them is huge. Like I said, I go in and I give them little training classes and things like that. And getting to know them. One of our local high school automotive programs down here in Puyallup, we just donated 2 cars to them. And we didn't donate old clunkers that we couldn't sell. We gave them nice cars. We didn't give them brand new cars, but we gave them nice cars to work on. Things like that. So often what we do is we give them all the obsolete stuff that we got, the old equipment that's no longer usable and things like that. And I don't know how many thousands of donations I refused when I was teaching automotive, because it was junk that we hadn't used for 20 years and it was sitting in the corner, collecting dust. So it's stuff that's relevant that's going to help them learn. That's all crucial for those programs and for their survival, because automotive programs are really expensive to run for the schools. And so, and they typically get the last bits of any budget, so anything we can do to help them be successful is going to help us.
This segment is brought to you by PartsEdge. Your parts department is the backbone of your dealership and is responsible for nearly half of your total profits, according to NADA. Our system works within your DMS for a hybrid approach that combines the precision of automation with the nuanced decision-making of parts experts. All right, we're going to move into segment 3, which is challenges and best practices in technician mentoring. And first question there, what are the most common challenges dealerships face when implementing and maintaining a technician mentoring program?
Smile.
Yeah, it's getting that buy-in from both the management and the technicians. Getting the management and owners to understand how important it is. And fortunately, we did such a good job over the last 25 years of making automotive unpalatable to people that now the owners are understanding, oh yeah, maybe we do need to do something to make it more attractive. So we're finally getting some pay that's decent, some benefits that are decent and things like that. But getting that technician buy-in is tough, especially in flat rate shops where the technician's getting paid flat rate, because they know as soon as they take that apprentice on, their productivity is going to go down. Their monthly income has a chance, has a strong possibility that it's going to go down. And so what kind of incentives can we add to, offer them to make it worthwhile to them? Some of the shops that when I was running the apprenticeship program, whatever hours the apprentice produced, the technician, the mentor got to flag those hours. The apprentice should always be hourly, in my opinion. And I would say for a minimum of 1 year and preferably 2 years, they should be hourly. And I would like to see a 4-year transition into full flat rate. But hourly with productivity incentives and things like that,
Sure.
as they progress through. But we have to reward that mentor. If we don't, they don't see the return on investment that the employer is looking at. So
yeah, and that so the mentees being hourly, that unapplied labor, right? That's where people looking at expenses become short-sighted, because they want to get rid of that unapplied labor, but that unapplied labor is building your technicians for the future. Right. And so you need to look at unapplied labor differently. I don't even like the term. I never liked the term when I was running stores. it's not applied to a repair order, but that labor is being applied to their
Right.
knowledge and growth.
In getting that employer to understand that this is an investment, just like investing in a piece of equipment, and we get to amortize the depreciation on that piece of equipment. Well, you have to think about that, training that young technician in the same way.
Right, absolutely, and it's definitely, it can be hard. Same reasons. Convincing a flat rate technician that this person's going to make you feel good too. So I think it's also about showing them the other positives that go with it. And now I feel, since the automotive industry is hurting a little bit for technicians, bringing some new people in, that it's kind of been implemented more that mentors are important. Finding out what you need to do to bring new people on and how to make them stay, and that happiness, showing them where their future can go and that this isn't the end of the road is huge with that. So I think it has to kind of be on both planes to keep the mentees and the mentors happy.
Yeah. And knowing that it isn't the end of the road, right? You've mentioned that a couple of times, Brooklynne. It's this business is one of the few businesses where you can come in at the lowest position in that dealership and literally end up owning the dealership at some point, if you wish. I've told this story before, but I worked at a six store group, and the current owner of that 6-store group had started as a technician in one of those dealerships 20 years before. So there's a person that came in as a technician and now owns 6 dealerships. You can the opportunity that this business gives you is literally unlimited.
Yeah, and I think I circle back to that a lot, just that it isn't the end of the road, just because there is so much more that people don't know that they can do. So going into tech line and calling in, helping other technicians, and then or getting into Fixed Ops, becoming an owner. There's so many different things that you can do. It's limitless.
Yes.
So I circle back to that there is no end of the road so many times just for that.
Yeah. And that's great. And I think we need to do a better job of us all talking about that more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That personal history is so important that, you can show them. I started out as that apprentice technician and, worked my way up to being a service manager and became an educator, a national award-winning educator. And I had a high school education with some vocational school.
Yeah.
Sharing that with them, and that, once again, that passion is really important.
Yeah. Excellent. How can we measure the success and the ROI of these mentoring programs? We've talked a little bit about the bean counters, focusing on those expenses, and we need to be able to show them something. How do we do that?
I know that we personally have started kind of measuring efficiency in some aspect. So, but we also base it on what work was performed. So I don't expect you to do some torque converter, some warranty torque converter that they just cut the time in half on because now power tools are a big thing. I don't expect that to weigh as heavily. So I have made spreadsheets of different counters to kind of measure efficiency, talk to the technicians themselves. But I think kind of watching efficiency is part of that, seeing the average that technicians pull and watching how you can develop technicians by putting them with certain mentors and watch that their efficiency is going to mimic that mentor's efficiency, just based off their work patterns, based off of their thought processes, based on how they think flat rate. And it can change everything just showing those things, at least to owners, in my opinion.
Yeah. And on top of that, I think, what I'm seeing is the retention part of it, not having that huge turnover of technicians. That's an investment that we have to look at as well, because it costs a lot of money to replace somebody. Yeah. And if you can keep the quality people, then those expenses go down. So,
yeah, excellent. So last question: what best practices have emerged for pairing mentors with the mentees, and helping to structure that effective relationship?
What we do with that kind of currently, when we bring in new technicians, we have team leaders and a single dispatcher at our dealership, and we will pull in those people individually, kind of have them sit and just base personalities off each other. So where your skills at, who would be better suited for where your skills are currently at, who can build you where you're a little bit weaker, who would be best to put you near. And that goes for every technician in the shop. We just kind of structure where their pros are, where their weaknesses are, to kind of help support them and where they are physically. And if they just hit it off with one of the guys and they just keep talking, smiles, laughs, then okay, this person would probably be suited for you. Yeah. So we almost have them kind of choose each other.
Yeah, I love that. Wayne, some best practices?
The personality piece is huge. Matching those personalities. We haven't implemented it here yet, but it's something I'm pushing for, is actually taking personality profile, tests to find out what your strengths and weaknesses are and things. But training in those soft skills is really important, so that that mentor understands how important their interaction is with that person, needing to be patient, needing to not intervene too soon. You'd mentioned that, Dave, when you were an apprentice, you had that mentor that would let you struggle for a while. Some mentors are well-meaning and they jump in too soon, and and they wind up doing the work, and the technician doesn't really learn much from that. So it's training. It's training not just for the technical aspect, but for that mentor, how to be that good mentor as well.
Excellent. Well, Wayne and Brooklynne, this has been an informative time. Any final thoughts before we go?
I think this is something that I've just kind of said and started saying a lot more, especially in the shop that I'm currently at. Just reminding people that there is a silver lining everywhere. Just kind of trying to hunt that down, find that, since negativity has kind of been a big thing that I've seen, at least around our area, a lot. And that's in different places, going to a restaurant, going to somewhere fast food, regardless of what it is. There's been a lot of toxicity, and I really have been pushing, always finding that silver lining. What's one positive thing that happened to you? And I'll just kind of go around and ask the guys and try and just keep them in a good spirit, good light, including the mentors. But I know it's kind of off topic, but I think it's a big thing going on right now.
Absolutely. It's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. For me, I love this industry. I decided when I was 10 years old, this is what I wanted to do, and I've never strayed from it. And this is such an incredibly exciting time to be in the industry. We have the coolest cars to work on, the coolest technology to work on, and we're finally starting to get the pay that's deserved as well. And so getting that message out is really, really important. And then the last thing is, David, you and I, talked about this a little bit before the show started. Is working hard to recruit the women into the industry. We need more women in the industry, because they're not brain damaged like us guys and can think with both sides of their brain at the same time. They're so good at diagnostics, especially electrical and drivability diagnostics, which is most of what we're working on today. They're amazing at that. And oh, by the way, they actually know how to get along with people. They actually have some empathy that most of us guys aren't real good at. So the opportunities and the need for women is amazing in this industry. So that's what I got.
Excellent. Wayne and Brooklynne, thank you for your time here on the Fixed Ops Mastermind. And everybody, we will see you next week.